I was a park ranger in Katmai National Park for a number of years, and I started to do work on the webcams at Brooks River to talk to people over the internet about the lives of bears. One day I was in a visitor center at Brooks Camp. It was pretty slow, late September, so didn't have any people face-to-face to talk to, but I was looking through webcam comments because there's always some people watching the webcams. Somebody posted a photo of the same bear from early summer and late summer, and they're like, hey, look how fat this got. And something in my brain just kind of clicked at that moment, or a light bulb went off, and I thought, hey, wouldn't it be fun if people chose who they thought was the fattest and most successful bear of the year? Because fat is success for brown bears. So we threw together, brainstormed that idea with Landis Ehler and Aaron Kameyer, who were a couple other rangers working with me at the time. We brainstormed this idea called Fat Bear Tuesday. We threw it up on our Facebook page, Katmai's Facebook page at the time, because there wasn't really a platform for people to vote. Otherwise, people just voted with their reactions or their likes at the time. And we found that the engagement on it was exceptionally high, much, much greater than anything that we had ever tried on Katmai social media previously. So that day I decided, hey, we need to give more people the opportunity to participate. We're going to expand it into a whole week the following year. And it's grown in popularity since then. I think we had I think it was less than 3,000 votes during or maybe even less than 2,000 during the first Fat Bear Tuesday. This year we had more than 1 million votes. So yeah, it's become this goofy thing that people participate in from around the world. There's no formal nicknaming process for the bears at Brooks River, but there is a long-term bear monitoring study that the National Park Service conducts at Brooks River, and it's been ongoing since 2000. So we have this database of observations of bears going back many, many years. And through that process, there's a person, her job is basically, she's called the bear monitor. So she gets to watch bears all summer and note where the bears are going along the river. She identifies individuals, takes photographs of them. And if they're a bear that's new to the river that hasn't been seen before, or is a recently independent bear, like a cub that's been weaned and is on its own for its first time, that bear is assigned an identification number. And then if that bear comes back in following years, then it will keep its number. In the past, many of the park staff assigned nicknames to brown bears just to help identify the bears. When you're along the river, it's an intensely managed place. There are dozens of brown bears running around, and there can be hundreds of people. So you have to know what bear is coming through the area, because each bear is different, and some bears may be very habituated to the presence of people, others maybe not so much. So it was helpful in that sense. Some of the park staff currently think that nicknames are unscientific and unprofessional. I disagree with them. We just have to be careful to not stigmatize the bears with nicknames that would put preconceived notion about them in our minds. Like, we wouldn't want to name a bear Killer, for instance. We wouldn't want to name a bear necessarily like Fluffy or Princess or something like that. I think the best nicknames help people remember something about the bear. Either it helps you identify the bear based on its physical characteristics, or it helps you remember a story about that bear, or it refers to a behavior that the bear happens to do. I don't think it's necessarily anthropomorphizing to nickname wildlife, but it is an ongoing debate, and it probably never will be fully settled.
The current status of bear 480 Otis is unknown. When he went into the den last year, he was looking like he could survive the winter. We're not sure if he did. He's always frequented the Brooks River in the summer, so it's unlikely that he would choose another spot within the park to fish, though there are hundreds of salmon rivers along the Alaska Peninsula that any bear could go to. There's just one with cameras on it, and that's the Brooks River. So he could still be out there somewhere, but yeah, so right now the status of 480 Otis is unknown. On September 30th, about 9:30 in the morning, Alaska time, there was an attack of an adult male bear attacking a female bear. It did result in the fatality of the female bear. The male bear then did drag the body up on the shores of the Brooks River and Naknek Lake to store the body as a food cache. The food cache was then taken over by bear 32 Chunk, who is the most dominant bear on the river right now. So it really speaks to the hierarchy at play within brown bear populations, and it really is something we don't see very often, but it's not completely unheard of. So even though it was tragic to watch on camera, it is wild bears being wild bears. So as much as folks want the park to be able to do something about it, there's not much the park can do besides allow these animals to be wild animals. Katmai National Park is a very remote 4.2 million acre park in southwest Alaska. So it was originally designated as a national monument because of the geology factors within the park. So there's a place called the Valley of 10,000 Smokes, and that is the result of the largest eruption in the 20th century, known as Nova Rupta. So Nova Rupta erupted on June 6th, 1912, and it was a huge cataclysmic explosion, and you can still see the remnants of that explosion in the ash and the pyroclastic flow that exists in the valley today. In 1918, it was designated as a national monument to preserve the geologic functions that are going on there, and then slowly the borders were expanded until 1980 under the ANILCA. It was put in place by Jimmy Carter on December 2nd, 1980, and that established Katmai Park as a national park and preserve. So now not only are we preserving the geologic history of the park, but we are also able to connect with the native people of this land. The Alutiiq, Yupik, and Dena'ian people, who were the original stewards of this place, still live on this land and subsistence harvest both fish and other animals within the park. The big draw is the bears. So Brooks Camp started as a fly-in fishing lodge way back in like the 1950s or so, and the bears were not congregating there in mass until about the 70s. So the bears congregate there because of the massive salmon run that exists within Katmai. The bear cameras were installed within Brooks Camp in 2012. So since 2012, we've seen this huge increase in visitation simply because more people know about Katmai. Again, it's a really remote park. It's fly-in only. There's no roads in or out of Katmai or even to the gateway communities, Naknek and King Salmon. You have to fly there as well. So having the webcams here really allows people from all over the world to visit a national park virtually before virtual visits were cool before 2020. So since 2014, people got really interested in seeing these bears before and after pictures. When they show up in June, they're super skinny, they're coming out of hibernation, they haven't been feasting on the salmon yet.
We quickly kind of fell in love with the bears themselves, their individuality. Each bear is unique. We fell in love with watching bears and discovered that it's a very unique and special experience to get to know wild animals on an individual level like you can at Brooks River. And even though I no longer work at Katmai National Park, the bears have remained part of my life since then. One of the things that we, as either like as a park ranger or like in my current role with Explode.org, that we always emphasize to people is that bears need to get fat to survive. They eat a year's worth of food in about 6 months, and then they hibernate. So at Brooks River, we get to see their changes in body mass because Brooks River is really special in the sense that we get to see many of the same bears across the entirety of summer. So we see bears coming back in June when they're very skinny, and we get to see bears in October when they're very fat. Those
after pictures after the few months where these bears are eating salmon, it's really endearing to see the bears before and after they go into hibernation. It's definitely increased visitation to the park. It's increased the park's visibility. And overall, I think it will help in bear conservation as a whole. There are 8 different species of bear on the planet. I think only 2 of them are not listed as endangered, brown bears being one of them. So even though brown bears are not currently threatened, the impending climate change, as we see the planet warming, will affect the bears. And so I think having people being able to connect with this place from wherever they are will help in conservation of public lands and conservation of bear species.
Well, I am a fan of all of them. I have endorsed bears in the past. This year, I didn't make a public endorsement. This year, I thought there were 2 favorites in Fat Bear Week. Chunk, who's numbered 32, and the other bear, Grazer, who's numbered 1 to 8. Grazer is, maybe the archetypal mama bear. She's highly defensive. She has a cub that she cared for through the end of summer this year. She had 2 cubs at the beginning of summer. Unfortunately, one of them died due to injuries that it sustained in an attack by Chunk. Chunk, he is an extraordinary bear in his own right. He's huge. He's probably one of those bears right now that's like 1,300 pounds, 1,400 pounds at this time of the year. He's the most dominant bear on the river this summer, so he got to sit at all of his preferred fishing spots. No one was able to successfully challenge him, and his body size showed by the end of the year. So those were the 2 bears that I thought had to meet in the finale. I didn't foresee another way how the bracket or the tournament would play out otherwise. And it turned out that way, and then we ended up finding out that the story of Grazer resonated with more people, and she won Fat Bear Week, first mother bear to ever win Fat Bear Week, and the first female bear to win back-to-back Fat Bear titles.
I just do like to reiterate that we are on native land. This land originally belongs to and is still lived on by the native Yupik, Alutiiq, and Dena'ian people. And fat bears would not happen without healthy salmon. So the indigenous people of this region have been advocating for healthy salmon runs for the entire time that these people have lived in this area. So healthy salmon and the people advocating for this land really are what make Fat Bear Week possible.
Well, anytime that we're considering the health of bears in Katmai National Park and their ability to get fat to survive, we have to thank the salmon. Salmon are the reason that bears gather at Brooks River. They are the linchpin, the cornerstone, the keystone of the ecosystem. However you want to describe them, they are extraordinarily important. And Brooks River is part of the Bristol Bay sockeye salmon run, which is the last great salmon run left on Earth. It's really an ecosystem that's operating on its fully realized potential. So, that's increasingly rare to find on Earth because of all of the changes that humanity is imposing on the planet. But Bristol Bay and Katmai National Park really are bright spots. And I think it showcases what nature can be like if we work to protect and preserve the species.